Welcome to First Conversations. The series is about exploring what's possible when we put life first, our values, our relationships, and our purpose without sacrificing success. Every guest that I have here is going to have, they've basically built something meaningful without really losing themselves in the process. And today I'm really excited to sit down with Sergio Rodriguez to hear a little bit more about his story. Um, we're going to be talking about the origin, where he got started from, what he's up to now, building his business, what an RMO is, and ultimately what life first means to you. So, Sergio, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Miguel. It's been a privilege to getting to know you and working with you, and now on this platform. It's awesome.
I know. It's been a couple of years ago that we met. I know we initially just met each other as a kind of a professional relationship. But I mean, I meant what I said on some of those posts, promoting this event. I've really grown to admire you and your family and the way that you guys show up on things. And part of the reason I asked you to be on this conversation is just I mean, it's what you say all the time. Hearing how crazy your world can be in construction. Um, you always have that smile on your face. You always talk about the things that are important to you. You just seem like somebody that has a story with sharing. And when I started thinking about getting these conversations out, I thought you'd be a great fit to share your story and really relate to people who might be in a similar situation as you, starting a business. Maybe they're finding themselves that we're scaling, we're growing. Oh, wait, hold on, I'm starting to lose the things that are actually important to me. I'm distancing myself from my family and this pursuit of success. And I really see you as somebody that holds those things true.
hmm
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been a journey. Hasn't been easy. We've had a lot of bumpy roads, but and we'll continue to face some hiccups and bumps on the road on as we're still young, so we're still kind of building our story.
Of course, and that's what life. I mean, that's just life, right? And
Yes,
I
sir.
will take a quick little moment to say I'm pretty sure my video is glitching again. We were just talking about this behind the scenes. I got really excited because I updated my Windows. I updated my everything there is to update. But it seems like I'm still experiencing some technical difficulties. So I apologize for that. Promise you the content will be good. So here we go. Sergio, why don't we just get started with a little bit about your roots, your origin? I mean, tell me a little bit about your upbringing, family background. Let's just start there.
Yeah, so my parents migrated from Mexico. My dad was, I think, about 12 years old when he migrated from Mexico legally. My grandparents petitioned him, so he went to high school here. He migrated to Richmond, California, and then my mom as well migrated from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, and from to Richmond. And so a lot of my family roots are in Richmond, California since the 70s, maybe I think even before that. And my parents met there, and so I grew up in that area. My parents were really just humble people, blue collar. My mom cleaned houses my entire life. I used to clean houses with her. And then my dad was in construction. We'll kind of tie in. That's kind of my little gateway to what I do now. But yeah, my dad's been in construction for over 40 years, 45 years plus. So, we grew up really humble. I originally come from a kind of a dangerous neighborhood, but my dad did everything he could to get us out. So
Mm.
I grew up in a city next to Richmond, half of my life in Pinole. Are you familiar with Pinole? It's just
Yeah.
one city over. It's where to get out of the hood, you go to Pinole.
Right. Right. Or Hercules. Yeah.
Or Hercules. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of my history. And my parents were really hardworking people. My dad he's still a hustler. And I learned a lot from my parents just really grinding every day. Um, and I had and that's kind of my history is like we used to sell goods in the flea market, in the East Oakland flea market. My mom had a stand there, and that's kind of where I learned how to sell. And I was a kid. I was 13 years old doing that, and then I'd work summers with my dad in construction. So really just blue collar, just grinding every day kind of family. Just construction and real estate. Eventually, we got into real estate as well.
Yeah. I think that's where one of the ways that you and I actually initially connected. I remember when the first conversation we had, you were telling me about, where your family came from. I was like, Guadalajara, my family's from Guadalajara. And,
Yeah.
you started telling me, yeah, it's, I know things are going well now, but, my mother used to clean houses for a living. I was like, are you kidding me? My mom used to clean houses for a living, and she actually still has one house that she every like month or so, she'll go out and clean this
It's
older lady's
it's
house. Yeah.
it's so funny. It's so funny. My mom, same. My
Really?
mom still
I
has
didn't
a
know that.
little route. She has a little route that she's been cleaning homes for them for 25, 30 years.
Yep.
And she doesn't want to give them up. And so like I think every other Friday she has her
Yeah.
little route.
Yep, yep.
And it's like, Mom, why are you still cleaning homes? Like it's not, but
Yeah.
it's okay. My mom's such a loyal person. In fact, I remember I tell my wife this all the time. I remember in the summer I'd go and help my mom clean a house,
Same.
and I saw a check for like $60,
Yeah,
$50,
yeah.
and we'd be there for 3 hours. And I remember right after that,
Yeah.
we'd go to like Big Five, and she'd buy me shoes for $40, $50.
And that
And I
was
remember that kind of hurt me a little bit. Like, man, my mom is doing all this just to like buy me a pair of shoes. Like that's real story. Like,
yeah.
so a lot of that kind of shaped me and how I think and how I grind every day, because it's kind of how I grew up.
Yeah. It's that loyalty, that dedication to, I mean, the people that are entrusting you to deliver on something, right? Your mom's clients hired her to do some work, but to her, it's almost like it's more than a job. It's like she feels almost like she owes it to them to kind of give the best version of
Yeah.
herself. Curious, when you did go help her, how would she rate your cleaning skills?
Terrible. I was horrible. She would have to redo a lot of my work. Same thing with my dad. I'd help my dad, and my dad would be like, "Man, what are you doing, kid?" And I'd have to,
Yeah.
just go clean up the job site. I'd go clean up the
Oh
job
my
site.
god, man. It's same exact thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But
It's
I will tell you this though, when we used to sell at the Oakland flea market, my mom would used to sell goods like everything, cologne, even makeup. I used to slang. I watch out. That's when I kind of found my little. That's when I realized, okay, I can actually do this. I
yeah.
was pretty successful at getting people to the stand and selling and negotiating, and we did pretty well at that stand. I think we did it for a couple years,
Yeah.
and then that was it. So my mom let me do my thing when it came to the flea market stand.
Yeah. Well, and so walk me through this. I mean, you were kind of talking about this a little bit, your upbringing, Richmond, I'm familiar with that. And for those people listening, I mean, if you're not familiar with Richmond, just think of like most people are familiar with Oakland, right? It's not very different. It's known for those kinds of things, right? It's the graffiti, and it's not one of those desirable places to live. I grew up in Hayward, not the best parts of Hayward. It's very similar,
Yeah.
known for very similar things. In fact, the high school that I went to, Tennyson, I recently had somebody ask me, do you know anybody from high school that actually went to a good college? I'm like, wow, seriously. But
Yeah.
you were kind of starting to talk about this, seeing your parents work as hard as they did. There was all I'm assuming there was probably almost a sense of admiration for that. But there's this other side of the coin where there's admiration, there's respect, but then seeing that $60 check and seeing like, man, all this hard work just for that $60 check. I mean, you're not knocking them, right? It's their way of earning a living, but I gotta imagine you must have been thinking that there has to be a better way, because at a later point, you kind of told me you wanted to be as far away from that blue collar business as possible, and you wanted to go a different direction. So
Mhm.
talk to me about that. I mean, where were you trying to go that was different, and why?
So yeah, so I to this day I admire my parents so much because
Right,
they were in the grind every day, but at the same time every penny was worked for to the,
right,
it was earned.
right.
But they were very generous people. My parents are very spiritual people.
Mm,
They're not religious zealots, or they don't identify with right-wing evangelists. They're nothing like that.
sure.
But they're very, us
Yeah.
Mexicans. We have a deep love for God and his
Mhm.
principles. And so even though they worked hard, we didn't have much. My parents were very generous people. We had so many people would live with us. They didn't have a place to stay. My parents would be like, "Yeah, you can come sleep on the couch, or the boys can sleep in the same room, and you guys." Like, they were just, I always admired that from them. So that I definitely kind of try to imitate. I try to imitate today, but at the same time, you're right. There was another side of me that was like, I got to do something. I can't struggle. I don't want to struggle like this growing
Yeah.
up. I want to do something different. And so that was kind of my first glance. I think what really changed for me was when I had my daughter, when Sophia was born, I think a light bulb just went off in me. I think my dad's DNA just kind of really kicked in. I really wanted to do something. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew I could sell, and
Mhm.
I did have a love for construction. And I found out that I had that love when I was in property management, when I was at Eden Housing. In fact, we used to manage properties right there, right in your hood, Tennyson
Yeah.
Gardens. I don't know if you're familiar with that apartment
Yeah.
complex.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, Tennyson Gardens. They own a lot of property in Hayward, and
Mhm.
so I used to manage contractors, and I was just really good at it, very good at it. I knew how to negotiate. And the next thing you know, I was kind of GCing projects for Eden Housing in a way. I was
I didn't know
managing
that.
capital improvement projects. And then that's when I realized, okay, maybe I can start doing side jobs, and maybe I can see where this goes. And that was kind of my little way into the business.
So it sounds like, I mean, you were wanting to go a different direction because you saw the hustle that it took for your parents, and while you respected that and you admired that, I mean, I could relate. My parents coming into this country, they didn't have my father worked as a sales manager. He had an office job. My mom didn't work back then, but coming here, not knowing, not being able to transfer those skills into a job here, he did the next best thing, which was in the beginning, literally collecting cans around the neighborhood just to make ends meet. And then it was, well, let's do some odd jobs and maybe some painting
Mm,
some fences or some rooms or whatever. And that turned into construction, so on and so forth. But there's an admiration, there's a respect for all of that. But at the same time, you wanted to live a better life, figure out a way to make good money, do something that you feel good about, but not to exaggerate, but not kill yourself in the process. And then you have your daughter Sophia at this point. And what year was this when you had Sophia?
this was 2015. And when she was born, literally that month, I started my first company. That
Uh,
month.
w- was that okay? So walk me through that, because I know there was. It's not the same company you have now, right?
No,
Yeah.
no, no. I had a separate company with a gentleman that I had grown up with. And so what we focalized on is we would do capital improvement projects for property management companies,
Right.
build balconies, turn units. We did government projects for HUD,
Mm, okay.
multi-million dollar projects.
Uh-huh.
And so that company, my role there was mainly sales and some project management roles. And then
Mhm.
my partner was in charge of the finances, accounting, and so forth. That company was from 2015 to about 2018. I grew that company from zero to, I would say, close to 5 million in the span of about, yeah, 2015 to 2019, actually, 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's funny, and I totally relate to what you're saying. I actually lost myself in that business. I
How
did.
so?
I was a young entrepreneur. I didn't know. I got the first check, and then I, instead of chasing purpose, I was just chasing the money. And I think for all entrepreneurs, I think if your focus is chasing money, I think you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
I think you'll fail. If all you care about is money, profit, money, money at all costs, I don't think you're gonna make it. I think you have to really love what you do, and you have to love the people that you serve. And
Mm,
I lost that. I was young, and despite of that, that's why I really relate to what you're saying, because it could happen to anybody. At that time, the company was profitable, but for some reason, we weren't making ends meet. And so I we started, and we found out that my ex-partner was stealing money from the company.
yeah.
And that really broke me,
Yeah.
because that was like a not it wasn't the money that was stolen, it was more of the betrayal that hurt me, because we kind of had grown up together.
Yeah.
And so that was like the ultimate betrayal to me, and we had built this thing from nothing, and it was just, it humbled me beyond I can ever imagine. It really humbled me, and it really helped me to sit down and really rethink my morals and my goals and what I wanted to do. And I'm grateful for those experiences. I think that you learn a lot from that. A failed business can really teach you a lot.
Yeah.
I don't really see it as an L. I don't. I see it as a really good lesson, and a training, and the training that I got. And if it wasn't for that event, I would not be who I am today. By no means.
Hmm.
By no means at all.
So almost to a degree, because of that failure, was almost kind of a, because I was just about to ask you, you know, looking backwards, when that company that you started, and let's call it a fail, uh, but a learning lesson of a fail, not just a loss. But looking backwards, you can see, okay, yeah, I was beginning to lose myself. But do you think it was possible? Like, was there a part of you during that time that was kind of noticing it, but was maybe ignoring it?
Yeah, for sure. I think the money wasn't making sense, so I had to keep selling, and I had to keep finding ways to make money to keep this company going. And then I was just focused on that. And I forgot about the purpose. I forgot about my original purpose of why I started it. And
Yeah.
it was because we were making money, and then someone was kind of just taking it down. It was just this rabbit hole that we just couldn't get out of.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I met. That's kind of and that's kind of our bridge, actually, because of that whole situation. I met Rich, who introduced me to you, and
Right.
that's
Right.
kind of how, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, without divulging much, I mean, I remember one of the thematics of that conversation was, I don't want to make the same mistake this time. I'm starting something different, and I want to make sure that the money's going to the right places and things like that. And that's kind of where you and I got connected.
Yeah.
Um, I'm curious. I want to stay here for a minute, and then we can kind of move on to the next chapter, which is, the company you have now, and how the origins of that. And I'm sure that's had it's had its own evolution over time. Um, but I'm curious to kind of find out a little bit more in terms of, because you had Sophia during this time. You were
Hmm.
you were married, I think, during this time, right?
Hmm.
So we're talking about you and where your head was at. But where was your family, and how were they impacted? What were some of the things that maybe Elaine, your wife, who might be watching right now, by the way, um, yeah, how was that going?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, she's gonna remind me when she gets home tonight. uh, she felt it for sure. And when it all went down, she got me back up. She's actually a reason why I started Integrum, because it really flipped my world upside down completely. Because I mean, this was my brainchild, this was my vision, and really, I just brought this partner in just because I didn't know how to start a business.
Yeah.
I second guessed myself. So I second guessed myself to the point that I thought that I needed a partner, and that was a mistake. So yeah, that's one of my regrets. I would say that at the time my kids were young and I was working a lot. I was working a lot to keep the company alive. And so that was one of the things that hurt me as well, was through all that, I kind of put my family on the line that I would never do again. I would never do. I've been there before.
Yeah.
And you know what? I tell this story to a lot of entrepreneurs. You'll be surprised how many people have gone through this before. Partnerships are the worst. I
It's
mean,
it's a marriage in itself.
either they end because there's a fallout, or they end because somebody is stealing from each other.
Yeah.
It's awful. And so, but yeah, no, it definitely put my family life at jeopardy, for
Yeah.
sure. And that was another learning lesson for me as well, that it kind of reminded me of what's more important.
Yeah. So you started this company, things were going well, you're young, you just started a family, so you have this, you and I can, and I'm saying this almost as if I'm speaking about myself, because I can relate to this so much, because during those years, I didn't have my kid until 2019, but
Mm.
similar mindset. You were young, you started a company, money was coming in, and there was excitement around that, and almost like a necessity for, like, okay, let's keep this ball rolling, let's keep it moving. But at the same time, like you said, you're kind of focusing on the wrong things, maybe not even really having a clear focus at all, and so the only thing you can focus is on what you're good at, which is bringing in more revenue. But that's now exacerbating a problem that's creating this distance around the things that were really important to you. I think the learning lesson here that you kind of just said, in another way, when you were talking about this imposter syndrome, is don't second guess yourself, right? If you feel passionate about something and you feel like you have what it takes to build something, sure, maybe get some help, get some second opinions, some coaching or whatever. But when you start giving equity and start splitting revenue with other people, that's where things change. And that was just kind of so it sounds like that was a big learning lesson for you, is if I'm going to bet on myself, if I'm going to bet on anyone, I'm going to bet on myself. Um, so now you learned that the company, had its, kind of went under basically, and you had to start over. So what happened? I mean, did you take a break? Did you just go from one thing to the next? And you were, and it's similar industry, but it's a little bit different what you're doing now, right?
Yeah, I took a break from 19. So in 19, I started Integrum, but I didn't do much. I just opened it, but it was kind of dormant. I worked for a high-end builder for a
Mm.
year, and and that kind of was, I was very bored. They build $5 to $10 million homes, and they go very slow, and it was not an exciting job. But I'm very grateful for the job because it
Mhm.
helped me regroup.
Mhm.
And in less than a year, man, I got the itch to, like, all right, let's go. Let's
Yeah.
go. So I started Integrum, and then I promised myself, actually Elaine was a big part of that too, where she motivated me a lot. She was like, you can do it. You were that old company. Gotta
Mhm.
go. You can do it by yourself. So I did it. I started with one project, and then it became two projects, and then my name got out. Then I just kept getting referred, and then it just kind of snowballed from there.
Mhm. And that was, when you talk about your name, was it Integrum that was getting referred, or was it your name?
Yeah, and it's kind of cool because we took off right when the ADU movement kind of really took off. And
Right.
I think the ADU movement really took off in like 1920.
Right.
And it was just perfect timing. There's a couple designers that all they do is ADUs. They got a hold of me, and we weren't big. I mean, I was a one-man show at that time. But I think in 2020, we ended up building like 30 ADUs or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
it was completely
Yeah.
unexpected. I never thought I would do that, but it was kind of perfect. The stars aligned.
So tell me a little bit more about Integrum Construction. What's the story there? First of all, what is Integrum mean to you, and um, and we'll talk a little bit more about the company because there's a couple questions I have for you there.
Yeah, no. So Integrum, what it means, it's there's the word integrity,
Hmm.
right? It's a Latin word. So it's
Yeah.
to build to build something with integrity.
Mm.
And I like the name. It was kind of in homage to what I had gone through and
Mm.
how I would never have a company like the previous company. We wanted to build with purpose. We want to have a core value attached to the company, who I really am at heart.
Hmm. And what is that? What is that core value?
So really, instead of focusing on the money, we have to focus on the people. We have to focus on the purpose.
Hmm.
It's not about the money sometimes. Of course, if you're not making a profit, you're not going to survive. We
Right.
clearly, right? But that shouldn't be our only focus. Our focus should be to please the client.
Hmm.
Every day we wake up, I tell my staff, we have to please our clients. We have to
Yeah,
respond to them. We're not perfect. Integrity doesn't mean perfection. We
that's
make
real.
mistakes, but we'll get it right, right? Especially because we do a lot of high volume. The more volume, the more exposure,
Mm.
right? So you're gonna have hiccups, but that's okay. As long as we don't lose our sight. We're providing housing. That's another thing. It's kind of cool because my origin is really my first professional job was at Eden
Right.
Housing.
Right.
It was at Eden Housing. And so I had the privilege to house a lot of homeless people, a lot of homeless families
Hmm.
sleeping in cars. I can tell you a lot of stories about that. And at Eden Housing, I really learned how to work, make money, but also work with a purpose. And so I feel like we're doing that at Integrum, where we're building all these ADUs. I have stories on, man, the ADUs that we build are like for a very special purpose, aging mom, a deaf son, they don't want to put him in a home, or a disabled person, that a loved one that's disabled and they don't want to put them in a home. They can live in the backyard. It's such a good feeling
Yeah.
to have that. I built one ADU for a pair of doctors. There's a couple, and both parents are aging right around the same age range,
Hmm.
and they were going to put them in a home, and they were going to put them in the same home, senior facilities, but no, they built an ADU with two quarters, and now they live in their backyard. And
That's
I think
awesome.
that's so cool. That's so awesome, right?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of a reminds me, and maybe we'll have time to talk about it later. But there's a full circle around this where, I mean, I follow you on LinkedIn, and I know you do some engagement there. Full circle to the Richmond property that you just bought, and what that means to you. So maybe we'll have enough time to come back to that. But
Mhm.
and thank you for sharing that story. I mean, it talks more to what your values are, right? Your core purpose. That's a clear example of how it's not just about the money, it's about the people. It's about, and when you say people, I'm pretty sure you're not just talking about the clients, you're also talking about
No,
your employees.
no,
Yeah,
absolutely not. It's about the designers that trust us.
yeah.
It's about my employees.
Hmm.
It's about like our designers trust us. If they refer us a project, they trust us. I'm not going to fail them.
Yeah.
It's we're I always say we're in the housing and people business.
Hmm.
That's because we're serving people. And you should see some of the stories that I hear about general contractors. I mean, I had a lady come into our job site. She was like, "Hey, looks great. Can I see it?" I said, "Yeah, come on in." And she goes, "We're remodeling our house too around the corner. And I wish I found you guys because our GC just cussed us out yesterday.
Yeah.
Cursed us out." And
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay, that makes me feel a lot better because I would never ever do that to my client. I can't even that doesn't even register in my brain.
Yeah.
Like, and I've had some, of course I've had some handful of difficult clients, sure, but
Yeah.
it doesn't cross my mind to ever treat people like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I always tell people, we're serving people, we're taking care of clients, and I always say if you do that and you work hard and you do good work, the money will come on its own.
Mhm. Tell me about this RMO, because I know you've put that on your LinkedIn. I don't see that too often. Maybe it's common in your industry. But what is that? What does it mean? Why is that important?
Yeah, RMO is just a legal term for an LLC. If you're
Okay.
an S corp, you're a CEO, and then when you're an LLC, you're an RMO.
Yeah, okay, got it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
nothing special on it, just a legal term.
so, and I guess you were kind of just talking about this, the the idea of being this calm between the storm. I mean, just so people kind of have an idea of the stuff you have to deal with. And it's not just you, right? I think some people watching this are also in construction. There was a guy who registered to watch the event. I think he might be one of your subcontractors that's watching. In any event, give us an idea of what is some of the the challenges that you're dealing with on a job site that could make it very easy for you to just say, you know what, screw this, screw that, screw the customer. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna have a couple of bad weeks. Screw the family. I'm gonna have some drinks and come back. Just all that stuff. Because I mean, you look at other industries, like the attorney world. Attorneys are that industry is very well known for high stress, very well known for you know um, drug addictions and things like that. And so, what keeps you from kind of falling off of that?
Mm, that's a good point. In our industry, a lot of substance abuse is very common, very, very common. It's sad. And you have moments like that. You can have a very difficult client that makes you want to just disappear for a
Mhm.
week or so.
Yeah.
But that never pays off. That never pays off. I think I learned that from my parents. You face your issues head on.
Hmm.
You don't run away from that. You face it head on, and I feel like I've had my handful of situations like that, and it always pays off.
Yeah.
It always pays off. So, but to answer your question specifically about what avoids, how do I not kind of go off a cliff and like substance abuse and stuff like that?
How do you handle that? I mean, because you got to do something. You got to have some sort of an outlet.
Yeah, I think my faith, my faith, my faith in God, my applying biblical principles in my life work.
Mhm.
They work. They work. It's
Mhm.
flat out. They help self-control,
Mm.
peace, and they help me get my brain off of work. So what I like, we like to help people. We, like my wife and I, if there's someone in our congregation who needs help, my wife will cook a whole, spread for them and bring them food, or I can mentor a young one. I can help someone with a Bible study.
Mm.
We those are things that I do on my private side that really help me stay. I want to say balance, but they kind of buffer that,
Mhm.
because I feel like when you serve others, that's a Christian value, by the way.
Mhm.
When you self-sacrifice yourself and you give of yourself
Mhm.
to help other people, especially for free, you get this dopamine rush,
Yeah.
and then you feel it's better than making money, man. I'm
Yeah.
telling you.
Yeah.
I feel better doing that than when I get a contract signed for, I don't know, XYZ.
Yeah.
Promise you. I mean,
No,
it feels amazing when you can mentor someone. Maybe that person's going through some substance abuse. Maybe that person has a marital problem and I can help them.
Mm. Yeah.
That gives me that's a true buffer for me, like going deep under.
Well, I like how you said that. It's not a balance. I mean, we hear this a lot, right? And people talk about balance, and sometimes I feel like balance is kind of a fallacy. But
Yeah.
a buffer, it's a way of kind of creating this. It's not even it's not so much an escape. But I like that term buffer, and I can relate to that too. I mean, doing pro bono work, helping other people out in need, whether it's family or strangers.
Mhm.
In our culture, we're very accustomed to doing that. I mean, I still have my parents that help out relatives in Mexico. Like they used to send more when they were working, and but I'll never forget, like, oh yeah, we got to send $200 to your Theo or your Thea or whatever,
Right.
because your nephew needs braces or something. It's like
Yeah,
we're
it's the
always
right thing to do.
it's the right thing to do.
Mhm,
It's cultural, but it's also faith based,
mhm,
and that's one thing that I found in common. I'm not saying here that everybody here needs to go out and become a Catholic or Christian or believe in God, but there is something to believing in something larger than yourself, right? Whether it's
mhm,
energy or the universe or God, even. It seems to really align people. It seems to kind of ground people.
mhm.
So it's nice to see that it does the same thing in you. So what does success look like for you now? I mean, you've had this a very similar path as mine, where you grew up in arguably, let's call it poverty. I mean, to an extent, I mean, we weren't starving or anything like that, but we grew up in very humble beginnings. We got to see a lot of stuff in our childhood, things that our children, fortunately and to some degree unfortunately, will not get to experience. They won't experience what it's like to struggle, right? Which is a whole different challenge, by the way. But what does success look like for you now? Given that you're now in year 5 or 6 of Integrum.
Well, it has very little to do with money. I think financial is a part of success, but it's not. I don't think it's success at all. I don't think having money brings you. I don't think it really changes how you feel inside at
Mm.
all.
Did you ever think that it
And
did when you were younger?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because see, for us, going to Sizzler was like a big deal.
the
Like
cheesy
that was a
the cheesy bread.
big deal. Like going to eating Chinese food was like, especially if they had white cloth Chinese food restaurant, like that
Oh
was a
yeah.
huge deal, right?
Mhm.
And so like that's how I grew up, right?
Mhm.
And we always grew up struggling. So yes, sometimes by default, the world pushes its values on people, and
Yeah.
it makes you think that yeah, success is all about money. And I think that's the biggest lie. It's not. Have you ever heard of the hedonic treadmill?
No.
So it's a concept that psychologists actually came up with, and what it is everybody has a baseline of happiness. Some people have it very low, some people have it very high, but everybody has a baseline. Okay. So you can make $1 million and that you'll have a dopamine rush and you'll come up. But eventually that high wears down and it goes down to your baseline. Okay. You can travel the world. You can get married. You can get a master's degree that you always wanted, right? And you'll hit that high, but you'll eventually come back down to your baseline. So
Mhm.
really you feel like you're going somewhere, but you're really not. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like being stuck on a treadmill.
Yeah.
And so I believe that 100%.
Yeah.
I don't think happiness or success is something like tangible. I think happiness is an inside job. I think it's
Really,
internal.
that's
I
really
think
well.
it's I think it's internal, and I think success is when you have some financial freedom, yes, for sure, but the freedom to help others, the freedom to help a family, to help your kids, to have time for your kids. I was telling you the other day that I think there's a lot of garbage on YouTube, like all these business um, people who give business advice, and they have this get rich or die trying mentality, like win
Mhm.
at all cost,
Yeah.
win
The
at
ride
all
and grind
cost.
culture. Yeah.
Hey, if your wife doesn't support you, well, you get another one. Just get it. You got to get it. That to me is like that's not success to me. That could be accomplishment, but that's not success. So to me, success is when your relationship with God is you know where you stand
Mhm.
spiritually. You know where you stand. I think there's a lot of value to that. I think it keeps you true and it
Mhm.
keeps you fulfilled.
And humble.
Your
Yeah.
family and humble. Yeah. Your family, if your marriage is good, you know where you stand with your wife, your kids, your relationship, the bond is there.
Mhm.
I think a big part of success as well is being able to employ people. I think that's great. I think being able to help subcontractors, if we succeed, they succeed. But again, it's all about this mindset of just giving and helping others. And to me, that's my view of success. And one of the things that I really appreciate about you is one of the first questions you asked me when we first met was, "What's your end game? What's your end game? You're gonna do this forever?" And I'll
And
be honest with you, I
I
didn't
remember
think.
I remember what you said.
What did I say?
You're like, "Hell no."
Yeah, and so I think we're still building a story, right? But I think that my end game would be to be able to volunteer and help people. Maybe it's consulting, pre-litigation work, helping
Yeah.
homeowners who got scammed or, something like that. But yeah, it has very little to do with money.
I think you hit on, so many good points. I'm just making some notes here. Um, the world pushes its values on people, and that's so true. My wife and I just got a pair of Jordans. Dude, it's my first pair
Congrats.
of Jordans that I've owned
Man,
since I was in elementary school, and my parents worked so hard to buy me those
yeah.
Jordans, and, ever since then, I thought, "Why would I spend so much money on shoes?"
Mhm.
Well, tennis shoes, right? And I have a bunch of stories on that, but, it's kind of a story of why we bought them, but when I bought them and they came in the mail, there was almost this feeling of guilt, like, these shoes were almost $300. But they're good. They're nice shoes. They're cool. And it just makes me wonder. It makes me think about how many people you know perceive success that way, of how you dress, of how you look,
Yeah,
you know, um,
yeah.
how you carry yourself, the jewelry that you have, the house that you. Oh my God, the house, the cars that you drive. I have a client that's worth several $1,000,000, but drives a 1980 something Toyota pickup truck that's like mustard
Yeah,
yellow.
yeah,
You'd never know. And it's not about that. And you also said it gives you temporary dopamine. It's temporary happiness. Buying your first house feels great. Making your first million feels great. I mean, even winning the lottery. How much money was it that they just won? A couple, I think in the billions. I think it was.
yeah. Have you ever
Uh,
seen the after? Like several years after, they go to destruction. Like they
oh
like
yeah,
get on drugs or they sue. Family sues them. They lose everything. Yeah. I think it's a snare. I think it's a trap. Again, I'm not suggesting that making money is wrong
exactly. Yeah.
or anything like that. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm saying is, if you put your entire value system into money, I think you'll be extremely disappointed at the end.
And what's not exactly being said, and this has been said, and even in the last interview that I did with Julian, is by it's kind of counterintuitive. By yes, there's a little bit of altruism in this, right? There's a little bit of doing the right things, but actually focusing your attention on those things that really matter. In your case, it's people, or like Julian said, it's all about relationships.
Mhm.
When you focus on those relationships, whether it's helping people, being there, integrity, really following through on the things that you're going to say, it makes you become this magnet, where now all of a sudden you're attracting wealth, you're not seeking wealth, and it almost
That's
kind of
it.
becomes this pull,
That's
which
it.
is something that I really try to talk about to business owners. And I just did a talk in Newport Beach about the difference between pull and willpower. Willpower is that rise and grind thing that we were just talking about. It's 5 a.m. I got to wake up, got to hit the gym, got to do, check the boxes, and do all these different things to be
Yeah.
successful, right?
Right.
Whatever it takes. But that's willpower. Where is willpower when your wife is in the hospital? Where is willpower when shit hits the fan and life knocks you down. You got to have something that's really pulling you forward. And that could be faith. That could be your core values of really showing up for people. When you're believing something that's greater than you, uh, and an and it doesn't have to be altruistic, but in an authentic way that aligns with your core values, you're constantly going to be getting pulled in the direction that you want to
Yeah.
go. It's not like it's
Yeah.
like you said, it's not about limiting yourself on success. In fact, you're actually creating much more abundance because of that approach.
Yeah. And you know what? When you have that mindset and you have that core, you can lose everything tomorrow and you'll be like, it's all good. I'll build it again.
There you go.
Because your heart is not a I'll sleep in my truck if I have to. Like it's not, I'm not attached to the material things. So I'm very conscious of being careful with materialism, because that's what materialism, right? Is the love for things that are tangible: money, homes, a boat, jewelry, those things. Those things they don't bring you happiness, and they don't make you a better person at all. And I think you're right. And I think that's been one of our successes with Integrum. We get referred so much. We have such strong relationships with architectural firms, designers, to where they know we're going to do right by their clients. They
Mm-hmm.
know that. They're not expecting perfection. They know if things happen, but they know we're going to do right. So we've been able to draw people, and year after year, you've seen the growth. I mean, you've
Mm-hmm.
witnessed the growth for the
Yeah,
last 3 years. And
massive.
it's happened. And so we're very blessed and grateful for that.
So this has created a lot of opportunity for you and your family. Obviously, I mean, it's allowed you to do, like you said, it's allowed you to. Your business has grown significantly, and I won't divulge information on there, but it's impressive. I'll just say what you've been able to do in such a short amount of time, um, and it's allowed you and your family to make some big choices, life changing choices. You know, Elaine and what she's been able to do in her own career. Changes and now working for the company, for your kids, your family, your congregation, the people that you help. um, so let's kind of start to round this out. You know, what you've touched on this in a lot of ways, right? Helping people, but let's kind of get specific. How has generating this wealth, um, and the success with the company that you've had because of the people that you're surrounded by? What has that allowed you to start doing, and what are you thinking about doing? What is it expanding your mind to what's possible now?
I would say we've been able to employ people. We've been able to change people's lives. I'll tell you one example. There was this one of my PMs who we recruited from Arizona, and he's from a rural part of Arizona. And I met him back in 2021, and we kind of kept in touch. Great guy, share the same values. That's the thing with our staff. Everybody in our team, if you don't share the same value system as us,
Hmm.
can't be a part of our team.
Hmm.
Everybody in our team really cares about the clients, really
Hmm.
cares about their job. And so I saw that in him. And he called me one time and he goes, "Hey, I would love to get out of Arizona." It's funny, right? Everyone's going there, but he was like, "Get me out of
It's
get
hot.
me out of Arizona." Yeah, yeah. And I was like, it was perfect timing for me. And I said, come on up, and was able to get him out here. He completely, I think it changed his life. It changed his life. Now he has a stable job and making better money. And, he lives in beautiful Silicon Valley. And I think his life is on the uppity up. And that makes me feel good. So I
Mhm.
think, and I can tell you more
Sure.
stories on employees that we have, that I think Integrum has changed their life for the better.
Yeah.
And I think really, I think stability is key. And
Yeah.
that's kind of my motivation to kind of keep the company going. Was I got to keep all these great people employed.
Yeah.
I gotta keep the lights on for them. And so far, I think we're doing pretty good. I think
Yeah.
we'll be okay.
Yeah.
But Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's a topic we'll have to get into separately about how to retain those employees, and
Yeah.
I'll have some ideas to share there. But let's talk about that Richmond property because I don't know the full story, and I'm hoping that I think it's applicable to what we're talking about here. But when I read that post, I can't remember verbatim what it was that you said, but it seemed to be almost like a um, paying respect to your past, right?
Mhm.
Honoring your past. Here you are, you've moved very far away from Richmond, and I don't think it was the exact house, but was it? Well, I'll let you tell the story, but I think there was some connection to that house to your childhood. And sure, it's a business opportunity, but it's also what you intend to do with that property. So why don't you
Mhm.
talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, it's a house that my friend grew up in,
Mm.
and it happened to be for sale, and it penciled, but I was like, "Is that the house?" No, it's not the house. So I text my friend and he goes, "Yep, that's the old house, man." And yeah, when I went to go see it, I just had these vivid memories of playing football, in the driveway. And I remember sleeping over there and I remember having dinner with his family there. I probably was about 10 or 11 years old, and they used to go to our church and they were in our congregation. So they were really close friends of mine,
Yeah.
and it was just down the street. And I have a lot of good memories there. So it was another reason to buy it just for
Yeah.
nostalgic reasons, but it penciled. And so right now it's a duplex, but the city's possibly allowing us to add 3 more units in the back. So a duplex ADU,
Hmm.
it's 2 story, and then a separate unit, a 1 bedroom separate unit. So I'm making it a fiveplex.
Wow. On
And
one plot of
on
land. Yeah.
on one property, yeah, and it'll cash flow pretty well,
I mean,
pretty well.
I can imagine. Let's talk about that briefly as we before we wrap up. I mean, your company focuses really, I would even say specializes in the ADU business. That's what you're kind of
Mhm,
known for, right?
mhm, mhm.
Uh, and I imagine there's you're predominantly in the Silicon Valley, so there's a lot of wealthy families who maybe want to build an in-law unit. Many families maybe aren't looking at it to say I'm gonna rent out a couple of places in my backyard, but there are those who are making it into a business. I know you're definitely taking full advantage of that. What does this opportunity mean for both somebody trying to generate wealth and for somebody trying to find affordable housing?
Yeah, so it does a couple things. So I always wanted to rent. I So Richmond is a very blue collar city, and there's
Yeah.
a lack of housing in Richmond, and the
Mhm.
rents are always very strong there. The
Mhm.
people because of the lack of a lot of the available units there are not very good quality housing.
Yeah.
It's very ran down. They're in bad neighborhoods. So I always had a dream of providing housing for people in the neighborhood, but also build wealth as well,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
that I can step away, right, at 50
Mhm.
years old, maybe later, or who knows, but we can still generate passive income. And so that's my goal. And we've been doing that across. We have another property in Richmond where we did the same thing. We made it
Mhm.
a duplex, actually. It was a single family home.
Mhm.
And then we have other properties in Napa where we're just infill housing, where it's
Mhm.
single family homes now are fourplex or a
Right.
triplex.
Right. Right.
And it's and the equity that you gain from it versus the cash flow, it all just pencils very well. And for someone like me, I'm able to leverage, just like you said, I'm able to leverage what we do. So we've slowly became kind of a development company. I don't really push that. I don't promote
Mhm.
that a lot, but we're
Mhm.
in a way another arm of the company is we're a development company where we
Yeah.
develop. And but for us, we're not in the flipping business. We don't flip. I believe that real estate, I think it's you'll get the most bang for your buck if you keep it long term. I mean, you probably know better than me on that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when we buy, we intend to keep and hold
For a long term. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
a
You
long
really
term.
see it appreciate. I mean, And it's good that you have that end game, or at least understand what that end game is. I mean, in California, I mean, you'd be foolish not to keep a property for, and long term can mean different for something different to different people. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, but really understanding what that end game is. Let's talk about life first and what that really means. As I told you when we scheduled this idea was kind of born a while ago, really, and a lot of it had to do with um, observing my own clients and their happiness levels and what keeps them happy, what keeps them grounded. I pay very close attention to who are those that I find to be both successful from a material standpoint, but also humble and happy and purposeful. And what are they doing different from those people who maybe just have material wealth, but they're finding themselves, you know, getting divorced? Not that, there's a lot of reasons why people get divorced, but getting divorced, or kids are distancing themselves from the parent, or there's drug abuse or things like that, and really just paying close attention. And I started noticing this pattern, even within my own life, and I have my own stories. Maybe if one day if somebody interviews me, I'll share my stories. But what does life first mean to you? What does it mean to you in relation to wealth and legacy? You have kids now, and your values. What does life first mean?
To me, life first, again, like we talked about, is I think having a understanding of your spirituality. Because if to me, if my relationship with God is intact, everything kind of falls into its place, like science. Like
Mm.
just it just all works better. I'm a better husband, I'm a better father, I'm a better leader, I'm a better businessman. I treat my clients better because I'm at peace. And so that's not always easy. You got to always check yourself. You got to always feed yourself
Mhm,
spiritually. You got to always nurture that. But
mhm,
I think that to me is life first.
mhm.
Secondary to that is then my family, right? Anything, that's why I love my construction software. Shout out to Beam because they really changed my business. And it's anything that saves me time, I love. Anything that optimizes my business so that I have more free time, I love, because now I can use that free time and I can go meet up with my wife.
Mhm,
I can go out with my kids, take them out to dinner. I can do those things.
mhm.
So that's what we've also scaled as a business when it comes to our employees, because I want that free time.
Yeah.
That's important. I'm at the stage of my life where I value my time so much,
Mhm,
because our life is so hectic and I have to prioritize, right? So
mhm,
I think that that's, if I can just really dedicate my time to my family instead of letting the company take over, I
mhm.
would think that that's a high priority.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. I mean, it sounds like these are really core values, right? And that's unsurprising. That's kind of the pattern that I've been seeing or hearing from people, is what life first means to you and to a lot of us who are kind of on this path of authenticity, is aligning ourselves with those things that make us who we really are. And most often, it is faith. Most often, it's relationships, and those relationships are usually family, spouse, kids, employees, and so on and so forth. Sergio, I can't thank you enough for doing this here with me. This is, I think this conversation is important. Like you said, there's so much conversations out there about the grind culture, the success culture, and the win it at all cost culture, that I don't think we're alone. I think there's so many people, and hopefully we'll hear from more of them over the next coming months, and maybe years, if depending on how long I continue doing this. But there's so many people out there that I hear they're doing something unique, they're doing something different, and they wish more people did. And then I approach them and I say there's actually, I know a lot of people that are doing this. That's part of the reason why I wanted to do this is get real people. You're a real person with a real company, with real problems, that has had failures, that has maybe not always been on the same path that they're on now, but you're on this path that is aligned, and it's gotten you to where you are. So how do
No,
people
thanks for
find
having
you?
me.
Yeah, how do people find
Yeah,
you? Yeah,
yeah. So on LinkedIn, Sergio Rodriguez, Integrum Construction. On Instagram, I'm at Integrum GC, or you can find me on my website, integrumgc.com.
very cool, awesome.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
All
We'll
right.
talk soon. Bye.
Bye.